Hey everybody, this is Chris.
And this is Julia, and this is episode number 43 of the Mixology Talk podcast. So when you first walk into an unfamiliar or a new bar, sometimes it can be kind of hard to tell what they're good at. Maybe it'll be obvious, like a wine bar should have wine everywhere, and a beer bar might have 24 beers on tap.
Yeah, but how do you know, just by looking around, whether a bar can make a decent cocktail? Can you order a Vieux Carré at this bar, or should you stick with maybe a beer or possibly even a rum and coke, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. I know how much you like those rum and cokes.
I do.
Yeah.
So today we're going to go over a couple of the visual cues you can look for right as you walk in the door that'll help you decide just what kind of drink you can order.
Now, the first thing that usually gives away a craft bar versus just a regular bar is the tools and the glassware they're using and they invest in.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to look for is what kind of mixing glass are they using, and are they using mixing glasses at all? If they shake every single cocktail, that's probably a pretty good sign. But it might be hard to tell at first glance.
Yeah, over the last maybe 5 years or so, one of the trends has been to use actual mixing glasses designed for mixing cocktails in. And they come in a lot of different patterns and, a lot of different manufacturers these days. But that's a pretty good sign that, first of all, they know how to use their equipment. And second of all, that they've gone through the process of actually caring about the equipment that they're showing their guests.
Well, and I think that's a good point. I think if a bar is not a true cocktail bar, I'm not sure management is going to spring for an expense like a mixing glass, when in all honesty, you can absolutely get away with a pint glass in terms of the actual functionality.
Absolutely.
So I think you need a good reason to invest in that. And I think management's going to go for it only if it really aligns very, very well with who they see themselves in the marketplace.
Yeah, and this goes for pretty much all the tools that you're going to see behind the bar. One of my favorites is kind of a telltale sign is the bar spoon.
I should have known.
It's one of my favorite things to
you know how women have
gather.
like shoe problems?
Yeah, I have actually my bar spoon collection isn't that bad.
Oh, you must have 24.
Oh, that's not that bad.
Oh my gosh.
Room to grow.
Oh no.
But when I first started bartending, there was always that one bar spoon with a little red top, and you see it everywhere now.
Are you
still.
bar spoon elitist?
No, I still have a couple bar spoons like that. I usually take them to events.
I haven't seen any
I
red
took the red
tops.
top off, but usually I'll take them to events if I don't care about, if I don't have to think about leaving some
losing
equipment
it
behind.
That makes sense. No, I think it's good to have some inexpensive stuff around. So if I'm looking across the bar and I see all their bar spoons have red caps on them, that's a telltale sign that they tend to be...
They didn't invest in their equipment, which may be a sign that they may not be a cocktail bar.
Right.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Again, you can absolutely get by with the $2 bar spoon. There is nothing wrong with that. And I think for most kinds of bars, that's what I would expect. But if you're going somewhere and you're thinking about ordering a Sazerac, you may be looking for that extra 10% that's going to prove to you that those bartenders really know how to make it.
Yeah, and kind of go along the lines of that. There's one particular strainer that is usually a pretty good signal that they've invested in their equipment and that they know how to use it. For most part, you can pretty much strain any cocktail out with a Hawthorne strainer if you do it right. But for stirred cocktails, julep strainers tend to be the choice for a lot of bartenders. Now, there's a history involved, and I'm sure...
Let's not go there.
And I have my own reasons, but in order to keep this podcast short and sweet, the julep strainer can be definitely one of the signs to look for a craft bar.
Yeah, once again, you don't need it. I mean, you can absolutely get by with Hawthorne strainers for everything, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. But if the bar has taken the effort to get a julep strainer, that tells you something about where their priorities are.
Yeah, and on the other end of that spectrum, too, if you look on the back, if you look on the bar and you look at the glassware and all they have stocked is pint glasses and shot glasses, on the other side of that, it also tells you something, too. Maybe their focus is exactly what you see, beers and shot glasses.
Exactly.
And you'll probably see me at that bar, to be completely honest.
That's true. A shot of chartreuse and a glass of beer.
Oh, that sounds like a dangerous, dangerous combo right there. I
could
love
see
it.
you doing that. So the next thing that you can look at after you've awkwardly scoured their bar tools and glassware is to take a look at their mise en place. And what this is it's a fancy term in the culinary world, which basically just means almost like the cockpit.
Yeah, I think the loose translation from what I've heard is everything in its place.
Right.
So this means all your garnishes are set up in a specific area. All your mixers are, if you use bottle mixers, are all there. It's just the organization of the bar in general, but also what goes into those those areas as well.
So when you look at where the bartender is standing, look at what's near him, because what's near him is what he's going to be using.
Exactly. So, for example, if you see, kind of old brown limes or just kind of soggy fruit,
Yuck.
It means they haven't taken a lot of care in preparing their garnishes or mise en place that they're going to be using for their shift. So that could be one sign.
If they have a bowl of fruit that's bright and fresh, and you can tell that they've been using that fruit for juicing and for zesting for cocktail garnish, that's another really, really good sign that they are actually using that fresh fruit, which is a great sign for cocktails.
And man, there's nothing like a little bit of fresh citrus oil on top of a cocktail.
Yeah, that's
even
for
a glass of water. It really changes
that's true.
The whole taste of everything. It's really a nice touch.
On the other hand, if you take a look at the mise en place and you see a jar of bright red maraschino cherries that are
from the 1950s,
that are glowing under the black light,
and
if there's a black light at all, I'm going to go ahead and say, don't order a Sazerac. Then I would say maraschino cherries are probably, and I should say maraschino, the neon kind, are not a good sign.
Yeah. Now, on the other end, if you do see a lot of products that are homemade and presented with a lot of care and purpose, then that could be a huge sign that somebody is running the beverage program that is truly dedicated to making great products.
Absolutely. I think if you're just looking at any old bar where folks are just looking to get through their shift, people aren't going to stand up and make their own ingredients. This is really a sign that somebody who works at that bar really, really cares.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is like homemade bitters, homemade liqueurs and infusions, different kinds of syrups that are made in-house. Somebody had to learn how to make all that stuff, first of all, and also to actually physically make the products, which is no small feat.
Well, and they had to convince management to pay for it, which is not trivial. I think there's definitely that convincing management to pay for anything that's not vital is going to be a hard conversation.
So, those homemade products and displaying those homemade products will definitely give you a sign that, all right, I'm in the hands of somebody that knows what they're doing and really cares about what I drink at the end of the day. Now, the final thing to take a look at, and I'm sure there are many different cues, but the one that always kind of catches me is the back bar.
Which is a broad way of saying all of their spirits.
The spirit selection that they choose to put up on their shelves, for sure.
Right, exactly. And I'll tell you the first thing I look for.
What's that?
I look for ridiculous amounts of dust.
Really?
There's there's a little bit of dust because it's probably been a couple days since they dusted. And then there's dust, where that bottle has not been touched for years.
That could be a really good bottle.
Oh, no. Unless it's chartreuse. I'm pretty sure that's not a good idea.
But yeah, in general, hopefully most back bars aren't covered in dust. And this is even more important is if you see a bottle of vermouth up there that's covered in dust, then for sure that, maybe they're not caring for their products well. Vermouth in general, ideally, would be used quickly. Definitely refrigerated to keep the freshness. It's wine-based.
Exactly. So it's not. It does not have the alcohol or sugar strength that's gonna make it last on the back bar. But either way, in my mind, if there's a really thick layer of dust on everything, that shows that it's not the top priority.
Yeah, and once you go into a couple of craft bars and start taking a look around, you're going to see a lot of familiar spirit selection on the back bar. It's probably going to be a lot different from stuff you can find in your average grocery store. Maybe not, but there are going to be some things that start to pop out at you that you don't recognize from your day-to-day spirit traveling.
And that's what I like to do is I don't know as much about spirits as Chris does. And if I walk into a bar and I don't recognize anything on the back bar, that is a really good sign. If I start pointing at bottles and asking Chris, what the heck is that? That's a weird shape. I'm going to be definitely ordering a cocktail at that place.
Right. There's one general rule is if you see a barrel of pretty much anything on the bar, you're probably in a craft bar.
What about Red Bull? Barrel of Red Bull?
Ooh.
We haven't tried barrel aging Red Bull.
No, we haven't. We should probably try that. Or
I think
maybe
it would
even
ruin our barrels.
Barrel aged fuzzy navels or something.
Oh,
or,
no.
Clue and creams.
Oh, no. This is
I
terrible.
have a new trend forming.
Oh, no. We're definitely not ruining our barrels this way. Don't worry. But overall, I think that the key message here, I want to be careful and wary, because if you listen to this whole podcast, you might think that we're just a couple of pretentious jerks.
Oh, Rutherford. I don't know. That's how I
Don't
imagine
call me that.
pretentious jerks talking. I don't know why.
But I think the point that we're trying to make is that craft bars have different priorities than neighborhood bars or dive bars or sports bars or college bars. And all of these bars are great at what they do.
Right.
And if you're going to order a really high-end cocktail, something that not all bartenders may know how to make, like a Vieux Carré or a Sazerac or something like that, if you want to take the risk of actually paying the money for something, you may want to validate that they're going to know what they're doing first.
Exactly. Now, I'd love to hear from you guys what you guys take a look at and what are some of the signals that you get when you walk into a bar and determine if it's a craft bar. I think we pretty much all know what a sports bar looks like. But in general,
there's some easy visual cues
are there
on
some
that
visual
one.
cues that you look for when you walk into a bar to kind of calibrate what you're going to be ordering off, either off the menu or off the draft system?
So definitely head on over to mixologytalk.com/43 and let us know in the comments. I would love to hear the answers to this one.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be a good one. I can't wait to hear the comments.
It's going to be a
coming.
bunch of people telling us that we're pretentious and mean.
I know.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Probably Rutherford is going to call in and say, "You
I hope
bastards!"
so. Well, hopefully this has been a useful episode, and the next time you wander into a random bar, you'll have some sense for what to order.
Yeah, absolutely. So that pretty much does it for this week, everybody. So enjoy your cocktails, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Never miss an episode by subscribing in iTunes or YouTube. And as always, check out the show notes by clicking on the right.